we look at these different levels, conflict, coping, cooperation, synergistics, and then ultimately that soul level, that's the same process of getting good at getting good. That's the same process of doing anything that we want to in our lives. We like, at first, we're going to struggle through it. Welcome back to the DC 360 podcast, where today we're talking about levels in relationship. And I can remember back to when I was in a car driving back from a friend's house. I'm pretty sure it was a Halloween party, and me and my girl were getting into it. I mean, we were ripping each other a new one. What that means or what that's like, we were really going in on each other. And it's easy to look back now and say, oh, yeah, I could see how we were just super excited about making up with each other. We had no intention of breaking up with each other. We had no intention of like leaving each other. But the damage that was done in those conversations where we were fighting, I would like to say was irreparable, but we're still together. So, I think that each and every relationship goes through something like that. And I think everybody can relate to that conflict in relationship where it feels juicy and like the thing to do. And I remember when we switched out of that, where things were a little dicey and we didn't want to fight with each other because we saw the damage that it was doing, and it was no longer fun to make up because it was now one of those situations where, I really don't know if I want to be here. And that's when we entered that next level or phase in the relationship where we were like, yeah, okay, well, we both want to be here, but what you're doing to me is wrong and what I'm doing to you is wrong, but neither one of us we couldn't see it then. And that's what I want to keep like reiterating in all of the content that you see that I put out, is that we don't know that we're going through a change or a shift until we're actually going through that change or a shift. And we're going through this thing and we just know that we don't want to be mad at each other or frustrated with each other. But it is a tit for tat kind of deal, right? It's, well, you didn't do this, so I'm upset with you about that. And we processed through the relationship quite a bit until we really started to get this good feeling where it was like, okay, well, I want to be here. There's a great feeling between us. When we are in a good feeling, the relationship is worth being present for. So why not just be a little bit more cooperative with each other from the standpoint of, I mean, I love you and I believe that you love me and you want to be with me. Things were tremendously better at this point, right? And I'm reminded of video games. I love video games. And whenever you go on cooperative mode, everybody that is there is headed towards the same outcome because we all want to get to the same goal. So if a teammate makes a mistake, I'm doing my best to help them out. And that's where we were in a relationship for quite a while. Now, there wasn't as much as excitement in the relationship because we weren't fighting. We were going places and having fun. And we started to see it as more of a partnership almost. And I think that's what kicked it into the next level. I think that's what kicked it into the synergistic level, where it was just a lot less talking about things and a lot more sharing that good feeling between one another, where we no longer were at each other's throats. We were no longer just worried about, hey, that person's looking out for me, that person's not looking out for me. We were now at this point where it was like, it feels good to be with you, and I'd rather be with you than talk about any of the negatives, really. And that was when the relationship really became beautiful. It was beautiful all those other stages, right? But we work through being furious with each other for no apparent reason. We worked with the fallout of the repercussions of that. Then we dealt with that. And then after we dealt with that, it just became like obvious that we should work together in this partnership to get what we both want. And that's more of these good feelings. And out of nowhere, those good feelings led to more good feelings. Who would have thought that good feelings lead to more good feelings? We stopped always looking at the negative thing that other person was doing, and we started enjoying being in the relationship. And I'm not exactly sure when we switched into the last level, which is actually really interesting from the standpoint of I didn't recognize that I had been into this level until I reread this book. And that last level is a soulmate. And when you're a soulmate, like you spend time together, it's like I literally feel great thinking about my partner right now. Like I don't have to do nothing. They don't have to be here. We having a struggle with the kids and they could say something and instead of it infuriating me and angering me, it really it's like, oh, thanks for that warm joy and that spark. And what's cool is to notice that it was me going through these levels, not just in my relationship, but I can see how this is like happening in multiple areas of my life currently. Where, like, if we look at these different levels, conflict, coping, cooperation, synergistics, and then ultimately that soul level, that's the same process of getting good at getting good. That's the same process of doing anything that we want to in our lives. We like at first we're gonna struggle through it. Now we're gonna find reasons to get upset. We're gonna find reasons to get mad. We're gonna do whatever it is that we're gonna do, and we're gonna make up with that thing. We're gonna fight with it. We're gonna wrestle with it. And I'm using creativity, but we're talking about a relationship. And I really should go look up the basis of what a relationship is grammatically. But my understanding is the relation between two things, two people, two whatever, right? Like I have a relationship with you guys on this podcast and ladies. And that relationship is I show up, I tell you guys about my life in some sort of context of personal development, whether that's children, family, finance, whatever, whatever, whatever. I bring in guests from time to time. They talk about their experience. That's our relationship. But the relationship with you and your kid, the relationship with you and work, the relationship between me and the bicycle that's in this room, the relationship to me and the garage that I'm sitting in, the relationship between me and me. It's all the same. And when you recognize it, when you're in a relationship and it's growing and it feels good, that's what we're looking for, to feel good. And that's even with yourself. Find those things that bring you alive and help you to feel good. And things like relationships, they start to make more sense. Thanks for listening to the DC 360 podcast. We're going to keep coming back, talking about life. I love you guys.